We have the, what is it called? The Volt Xbox Series controller, and this one has a very strange stick drift that I've never seen before. As you can see, I'm pushing forward on the left analog stick and it is slowly climbing, which is strange. And then it'll jump every once in a while. See, the left and right work great though, but it's just the forwards and the backwards. They'll go really slow or they'll just jump. So we're going to go ahead and replace that. Disassembly on these is very similar to the 1S controllers. You just have to find the screw through this tape here. Let's see. There it is. So this controller has never been opened before. I'm pretty sure the customer said it was brand new too. This customer actually has multiple controllers he brought to me, and he said that he's tired of buying brand new controllers all the time, and so he's wanting to get all of them fixed, which is beneficial in some ways, such as this controller. I have a feeling that this controller was probably around $60, $70 or something like that, and the price to fix the analog is significantly lower. So we got that off. Now we need to get this one off too. With these newer controllers, it's always harder to get these plastics off here. But once you get that back side off, you kind of just feed this through here and loosen up these areas. And once you have these areas loosened up, it just pops right off. So now we need to take out these two screws and these two screws, which are literally the same setup as the 1S controller. The only main difference I've seen between 1S and the series controllers are the way they look, and just a little bit different of the way that they're set up on the inside. However, they look almost exactly identical. So I think that these series controllers might be a bit touchier when it comes to gameplay and stuff like that, but I'm not quite sure. We're going to go ahead and pop these two guys off, and just remember that the left one is up top and the right one is on bottom, or you can just look at these two connection points here, and the one that's furthest to the left goes to the left, and the one that's furthest to the right goes to the right. So now we got those off, we're going to go ahead and take the analogs out. And what we will need to do is take these two screws out. So there's a screw right here and a screw right there. So we'll take both of those screws out. Alright, now that we have those out, we can go ahead and pop this board up. And we're just going to pull up, just like so. And the same headphone jack as the 1S. You just take that out. And now what we will have to do is desolder all of these points. And these ones have the black and gray wire that goes up front. So it'll be black and gray, so you just call it gray, gray, black, red, black. Gray, black, red, black, and it's like that on both sides here. So we'll go ahead and desolder those points, and then we're going to go ahead and take off this analog and put a new one on it. Alright, so all we need for this is just a little bit of solder. You can always add flux. Sometimes it works better to use flux. Other times you can just do it with just the solder. Where are my tweezers? Oh, looks like I don't have them. So we'll just use this guy to get these out of the way. It looks like, yep, there we go. And this customer was going to try to fix all of his analogs on his own, including the bumper issue on the other controller he brought me. But he decided to bring it to me instead, which is perfectly fine. Yeah, sometimes you just don't want to ruin your electronics, and it's understandable. Because nobody said that this was easy. Even I sometimes have my little accidents here and there when soldering stuff and working on small boards. It's always the smaller boards that gives me the most problems, either that or the smallest area, which is why I try to stay away from too big of fixes, such as Nintendo Switch charging port issue. But that's a story for another time. Alright, now that we got that board desoldered, we're going to go ahead and throw it in this frame here, and we'll set this aside for now. Alright, now that we got it in the holder, we're going to go ahead and apply some flux on all of the points. Now I did test this to make sure that I was doing the right analog here, but as you can see, if you watched my other video on the 1S controller analog replacement, it's literally the same setup underneath this analog. So get good with the 1S controller. This is exactly the same. Looks like we're gonna have to put a lot of solder on here. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. I will say though that on the series controllers, it takes a little bit longer for the solder to mix with their solder. So I'm wondering if they use a different kind of solder on them. Okay, that one's not seeming to take. Let's see. You definitely don't want to breathe that smoke in that you see coming up into my face. Take some years off of you. Okay, there it goes. Usually the skinnier, taller points here take the solder a lot better. The flux is just running away. Alright, I think we got solder on all of the points now. Yep, so we're just gonna go ahead and heat this bad Larry up. Pop her off. Let me grab my tweezers real quick. So like I said in my past videos, you can use tweezers, you can use pliers, or if you want to do it the safe way, don't use a heat gun and just desolder each one of the legs or the feet individually by using a wick, a copper wick. However, that takes forever, and this works great if you have experience in doing this, but I would not recommend this for everybody. As it is easy to knock components off or cause other issues. So it looks like that solder is sinking down into the holes. Getting a little bit of movement here now. Yeah, they definitely use a different kind of solder because it cools down really quick. There we go. Alright, and we got that poured off, and it looks pretty good still. So it looks like the center might have melted just a little bit there, but that's okay. If anything, it just left a little tiny dot on the bottom, which we can scrape off really easily. So now I'm just going to heat it up from the other side, and we'll suck the solder out of each one of those holes. And because this controller is pretty much brand new, the condition of this board is really good. And so the solder comes out nice and easy. No issues. There we go. Now we got all the holes sucked out there. Now we just need to throw the new analog on there and solder it down. So as you can see here, all of those holes are solder free, and we'll get the new analog on. These are the analogs that I got. Basically, the customer actually gave me this entire pack, which was really nice of them. I think there's 6 of them in here, and these are original replacements for Xbox One controllers there, as you can see. However, upon inspection, it looks exactly the same as the Series controller analog, so maybe we can pull the one-on-one switch without having to pull the spring out of the middle of the analog. I guess we'll go ahead and try it, install it and test it and see if that'll work. If not, then we'll have to disassemble the analog here. Alright, now that we have the analog on there, we're just going to go ahead and throw some solder on the feet. And you can basically just hold the soldering iron there and feed solder into it. Most of the time you don't need flux for this, as it tends to stick pretty well. Alright, now that we have solder on each one of those connections, we're going to go ahead and solder the other board and the components back to this board. Alright, let's solder this bad mamma jamma on here. So gray and black goes up front. And then we got black. And then we have red. And black again. And it's the same thing on the other side. These controllers really aren't hard to work with. Once you get comfortable with it, they actually become fairly easy to deal with. Let's see which one of these has the gray on it. Okay, not that one, so it must be this one, right? Yep. Alright. Oop, I just got it mixed up again. Okay, that's it. Okay, go ahead and turn this here. You might not be able to see what I'm doing, but I gotta see what I'm doing. Alright. So we got the gray and black one. Now we're gonna do the black. And now we're gonna do red. And these two back ones are for the motor, so that you can feel the vibration right here. So these two wires go to this motor right here, which is what spins this guy and creates the shaking sensation. Alright, so now that we got those back together, we're going to go ahead and put the controller back together temporarily, and then we're going to test it and make sure that there's no drift. Let's check it out. Back at the workstation here, and we are going to make sure that we put the headset jack right there, and we got to pull out those two little connectors from that board up here. Remember how we were talking about the left and the right? So we got to make sure we plug those up back together, but first what we're going to do is we're going to plug this connector in right here. And in order to do that, we got to line it up just right. We got to push it back a little bit. Boom, just like that, snapped in. Alright, so now we're going to put the right one down. Bingo. And we're going to put the left one down. Good to go. Alright, now we're just going to tuck those in the little slots there in the boards, so that they're out of the way. We're going to push those wires down. Then we're going to put these screws back in. Now these screws are smaller than the ones that you take the controller apart with. Or, yeah, that you take the plastic pieces of the controller apart with. Okay, well, it's easier just to use the magnetic drive if you got fumble fingers like me. We're just going to screw that in. And we're going to screw this one in. Perfect. Now we're ready to test it. But what I'm going to do for this one is I think I'm just going to put it all the way back together. I have a pretty good feeling about this, that the analog is the same match as the 1S, considering that they look exactly the same, and the sensitivity of the analog feels pretty much the same too. So let's go ahead and put that back together. And here we're just going to slide this plastic piece on. And the biggest thing to remember here is it will go on perfectly if you slide these two metal pieces that connect for the battery, the positive and negative. If you slide those on the inside of this battery pack area, then it should just go on just like that. Just that easy. You never want to force it on, just in case of some of the wires inside of the controller are in the way. You may cut those wires. We're gonna screw these back together here. Alright, then we're going to pop these plastic pieces back on. Maybe. Let's situate this right. Alright. So these ones are always a little bit tighter. I'll try to push them from the back first. Yep, there we go. Alright, and we'll throw this one on. I like this controller. Bright green. Alright. Now that we got those, we're going to put this last screw in here. Maybe. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and test it out, make sure it works. Alright, so kind of strange, but it does seem to be working. It is sitting forwards, or up I should say, just a little bit, but it's not causing drift and it's not doing the slow-mo anymore. So I just like to test it here. Yep, and it looks like it's good to go. So I guess the analogs are the same for the One S controller and the Series controller, which I already figured, but just good to see that finally. So or see that those are compatible. So I'm gonna go ahead and try this out on the Xbox now, make sure it works on the Xbox, and then I'll give the customer a call and tell him that all three of his controllers are good to go. All right, thanks for watching.